Hey, my friends at C506. Over here we have one of our dearest friends, and he's been like a constant guest in our interviews. You already know him for his work at Vinyl, Plastic, and also he has worked in Batman. And now there is an upcoming comic book in Image. We're going to talk about today. Our good friend, Mr. Doug Wagner. How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing great, Luis. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for asking. So, Doug, there is an upcoming series called Beware the Eye of Odin.
That
Is
is true.
that's correct? And this is your big return to fantasy after being on, the Warcraft comic books. So, how do you feel about this? What was the reason you wanted to return to fantasy after being on this action-packed series before?
I've always been a huge science fiction and fantasy fan. So, any chance I get to dive back into those two is always fun. I know I've been playing with serial killers for a while, but this was kind of like a nice break to get into fantasy. And I have to blame most of it on Tim Odlin, who's the artist of the book. He came to me. We were just kind of talking, and we wanted to work on something together. And he's funny. We were talking. I was like, "Well, what do you want to work on?" And he's like, "I want to draw Vikings and trolls." And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so that's where it all started.
Okay, and one thing, so while you were talking about serial killers and working on fantasy, what about some fantasy with serial killers?
Well, I hadn't gotten that far yet. Tim didn't want to do too many serial killers. He was really, he wanted to draw more trolls than anything. So, I guess maybe we could do trolls with serial killers in the future. That could be fun.
Yeah, that's the thing, always when you think on serial killers, you think on humans. When there can be an elven serial killer, a dwarf serial killer. Some races like kobolds or goblins, well, they kill all the time, so you cannot call them serial killers. They don't have that psychological profile to be considered serial kill because that's what they do. So maybe a different race serial killer can be an interesting.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but it is a good idea. Thank you for that one.
Well, I just hope to see my name in the credits. That's all I want.
I can make that happen.
That's great. Now, Doc, so what can you tell us about the Beware of the Eye of Odin? Can you give us a little glimpse on that? What's the story about? Without spoilers or anything that will take you get you in trouble.
Oh yeah, of course. You can, it's already been solicited. So the good thing about it is that I can tell you quite a bit. So it starts with Vikings, obviously, and there's this one, our main character, Helgi, who's kind of like a prince of a small village. And the frost giant has somehow made its way into this village, and he manages to kill it. But one of the things that falls off this frost giant is the actual Eye of Odin. And so when he picks it up, if you touch it, you're immediately cursed. If you don't return it to its rightful owner, then you'll die within 1 month. And so Helgi's only got 1 month to return this eye, or he's going to die this horrible death of boils and decay, right? And so the bad part is the rightful owner of the Eye of Odin is the king of the frost giants. So he's got to make his way from his little village all the way to basically almost like Antarctica, right? To return this eye to the frost giant king, if the frost giant king, of course, doesn't kill him, because who likes humans, right?
Yeah.
And so along the way, he's got his one of his friends who's a one-armed blacksmith decides he's going to go with him. And then along the way, they run into this girl who may be crazy, maybe not. She believes she's a Valkyrie, so she wants to go with him. So there's kind of this trio of characters, and you got Helgi, Steiger, who's the one-armed blacksmith, and then Caitlin, who's this girl that believes she's a Valkyrie.
Oh. Are you basing your characters in real life people? Maybe famous people Who are you basing these characters?
No, I found them kind of a little strange there. I don't really base my characters off of anybody that I know or off of any say Hollywood stars or anything. I kind of create them, and they kind of come to life in my head, and they're kind of their own person. So what's kind of weird, I guess, for me is I kind of create these characters, and they kind of start talking to me. They kind of create themselves in a lot of ways.
I see. So in this case, this is like a cliche question, but I have to do it. or all over this character, who's the one that has more Doug Wagner than the others?
Oh, which one has more Doug Wagner than the others?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a tough one because they all obviously have a little piece of me.
But
I'd like to think, I know it's going to sound strange, but I think I'd like to think that the crazy one, Caitlin, I like her the best because she doesn't, I wish I could be more like her, I think is what, like, she doesn't care what people think. You know, she's a Valkyrie and she's okay with that. And if people don't believe them, well, that's on her. You know, that's their problem. Steiger's kind of the older guy, you know, that's kind of been through it. So I kind of, you know, being the older guy, I kind of relate with him a lot too. And then seeing everything from Helgi's standpoint, he's a lot like me too, in that, like, you know, you hear all these fairy tales, but you're not sure they're true until you see them in real life. You know, it's like, but I like to think Caitlin has the most of me of being a little bit on the crazy side.
all right. So, well, right now, you know, Vikings are about to become again on the spotlight. There is this big movie coming, The Northman.
Right.
Do you already have your tickets for that one? Or
No, I don't already have my tickets for it yet.
I'm watching it this Monday, so let's hope it's a good one. So, and also, well, now Beware the Eye of Odin, Thor's new movie coming over. So, in this case, well, you know, you can think about that, like there is some kind of trend coming, you know, Vikings and all that. And do you, what were you thinking when you do, you know, the fantasy is such a big thing that it's a specific reason you chose Vikings in this case, Nordic, or instead of something on medieval or Arabian, something like that?
Honestly, I mean, you know, and obviously we started this before, you know,
Right.
we knew about the movie and those kind of things. So it's always kind of interesting, like you said, to see how trends kind of like follow each other.
Yeah.
But it came all down to Tim, and Tim was the one that wanted to do Vikings. I didn't know when he said it that he's actually descended from Vikings. So both sides of his family are from that area and are you know, generationally Vikings. And the funny thing about that too is, like, Michelle Madsen, who's the colorist, she's also descended from Vikings. We didn't know that when we hired her. So, dude, it was just all like, it just happened to be the perfect time, perfect place. And Vikings just is what Tim really, really wanted to draw.
Okay, so how is the process to work with Tim Odland in this case? You know, the tandems between writers and artists, they have different dynamics. So how is the dynamics with Tim?
Tim's fantastic work with. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Like, honestly, like, he's just a really nice, sincere person. So he was really easy to work with. No ego to worry about. All he really cared about was he wanted to do the best story we possibly could. And so it's always easier to work with people that are really focused on, let's create the best book we can. So there was a lot of time of us, like, bless you, there was a lot of time of us spending together, like, just, I would say it was a true collaboration. Like, I'd say, hey, what do you think about doing this? And he'd go, oh, well, what if we did this instead? And so it was a really great time working with Tim. And it was funny, like, we met every Wednesday at Taco Bell to talk about, every Wednesday for 2 or 3 hours, we'd meet at Taco Bell and talk about Beware the Eye of Odin. He'd show up with the new pages, and then we'd work on the next scene and that kind of stuff together. So, you know, like I said, I mean, he's a great friend, and we became even better friends working together, which, you know, doesn't always happen, but he's great.
That's one of the biggest advantages now that the pandemics look like something from the past, that you can now see yourself face to face and maybe have these interactions that you could not via Zoom, WhatsApp, or whatever. Maybe that will reflect in the work. You know, you will see a more how can I say it, more candid work than when you used to do it everything via remotely. Because maybe even though if I see your face right now via Zoom, maybe if we saw each other right in front of a table, the way we perceive each other won't be the same, because besides the visuals, you add, you know, the atmosphere, being on the same atmosphere, maybe even the smells or things like that. So maybe with this new, with the newest comic book series coming over after pandemics, we may notice something like that. We may not see them as something as cold as 100% remote work, maybe.
Right. I can see where you're coming from there. And I agree with you. Like, I think it was easier for Tim and I to create in person because like you said, like there's energy that you're exchanging in person.
Mhm.
And there's just a lot more fun to it. And like, it's not necessarily, like you said, as cold as like having to sit the entire time looking at each other through a camera. You know, you're together, and if you're like, hey, I need to go to the restroom or whatever, it doesn't feel like like you're running out of the meeting or anything. It's just like, yeah, you're just kind of taking it easy. Oh, hey, I need a refill. Let me go get a refill. It's definitely more personal. And so I can see what you're saying. Like, I think it can affect your comic.
No, and also, sometimes ideas or things like that can come on such a trivial moment, like when you're going to refill your soda at the machine, like, or maybe during the restroom after you discuss a little idea and maybe it came over with like, oh, okay, I got something. Yeah, I know what you mean. And we will see that on upcoming series, I'm pretty sure. Not only yours, but in general, in the comic book industry.
Yeah, I agree.
So, well, let's see. So now also, well, you always have something on your mind. You're always doing something. That's something we have always talked about when we had these interviews. And tell me the Kickstarter project went really well and all that, but I know you're going into this one goes into Image, but also now that artists have more ways of funding and more ways of showing their work to the world, is there any crowdfunding project coming over?
I don't have anything planned for this year that I know of yet. Now, sometimes that things change pretty quickly. I'm really focused on the books I am working on. Not anything crowdfunding coming up that I know of, but that, like I said, that can always change. I know I'm doing a new book with Stefano Cartaselli. He's from Italy, and there's a good chance we'll do some crowdfunding on that, but we don't have a plan yet. We want to get far enough into the project to like feel comfortable starting a Kickstarter. Doing another project with Daniel, but that won't be coming through Image. And I'm doing another project with a guy named Doug Dabbs, who's an American as well. And, so that one we don't necessarily have a publisher for yet, but we're headed, we're just trying to get the book started. So, crowdfunding, I love crowdfunding. It'll be interesting to see. I think that's changed everything wonderfully for artists and writers. Like there's another avenue for us other than just publishing traditionally. So I'd like to do it again, but I don't have plans at the moment to do it.
No, that's good. Now, we recently spoke with Todd McFarlane about the 30 years of Image Comics, a novel that, since the series is coming through Image, what would you say that you have this house, that the third house, where, according to what Todd told us, they are just the owners of the of the desks and maybe the office and maybe the big logo that is attached to the wall. And what would you think now that these characters are yours and Daniel together? I don't know what are the rights. How did you deal that with him? But what can you say on the business model Image has? Like, not like the other two big houses where basically you are working with characters that are not yours, or you have to give them those characters to them. So what how do you feel that, knowing that whatever you create is 100% yours? And what would you think if Image was not around? What could be the status of the industry at this moment?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's, thinking about, like you said, I mean, I can't believe it's already been 30 years for Image. It's fantastic, but they came around and they completely changed the industry. Having creators create successful books that made lots of money for them during a time when nobody was doing basically a lot of creator-owned books. And to be honest, without Image, I'm not sure I even have a career. Like, you've seen me do books through them since 2004. And I'm not sure I get my start without Image Comics and the deal that they have of like, hey, we will publish your creator-owned book and you get to keep all the rights. and we kind of work out this deal of like, yeah, you get a little bit of money, but the creators get most of the money. Nobody else is doing anything like that. Like you said, I mean, the big two for sure, but even like Boom and Dark Horse and some of the other companies aren't doing any kind of deals like that. And, you know, it's surprising after 30 years that nobody's tried to kind of like copy their business practices. Because I love them. I mean, obviously I keep doing work with them, and they have changed the industry, and in turn changed my life. So like, you know, I'm a huge fan of Image Comics.
Yeah. So in this case, well, you can just, how can I say, testify or be a witness of what Todd said on regarding all the rights and everything. And now that we're talking about, you know, having your own characters or your own series, what can you say about, and I always ask you this, hoping that what's coming over, any TV series, video games, Netflix, something? I don't know.
I mean, you know,
I'm just throwing the question. Throwing the question. Let's see.
I mean, what's interesting is a lot of that stuff's always in the works, but I'm always hesitant to say much because it's Hollywood. And a lot of times, like, you'll get a project that'll go really far and get really close to becoming something, and then nothing happens. And so I can say, like, almost everything that I have done through Image is currently in some phase of development in the Hollywood side of things. And that's whether there's a screenplay being written or they're working on trying to, you know, have a meeting with somebody like Netflix, those kind of things. All those things are always in play, but like, I've learned not to get too emotionally involved with it because, like I said, I mean, you know, you'll think, oh my God, I'm going to make a lot of money, and then nothing, you know, it all falls apart. And that stuff happens all the time. I mean, even look at like what happened to Will Smith, you know, after he slapped Chris Rock, like 2 of his movies were immediately put on hold for who knows how long. And so you just don't know.
Just don't slap anyone.
Yeah, I'll try not to slap anybody, especially on TV, right? That would go badly. So it's always like out there. But I really keep my focus on, I want to keep creating the best comics I can. I let the agents and all those people handle all the Hollywood stuff. And I'm like, hey, let me know when it gets serious. So you know, let me know when the check's in the mail.
Well, that's a good one, when, you know, when you create something so big or so good that you just sit down and extend your hand to get some money, and that's all.
Oh yeah, that would be nice.
Okay. So let's just you know, play and the multiverse and whatever, like Plastic project is coming for TV or movies, and you have a free pass to just choose the main character for any actor in the world. Who would you choose to be the star of a Plastic movie, for example?
Oh man, there's so many great actors out there that I think could pull it off. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Bryan Cranston, and so Bryan Cranston, I think he'd be a wonderful Edwin. Just you know, he's so good at all the small little nuances that you get in acting. I can't remember the guy. Who was the guy that played Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad?
Polka Dot Man. Yeah, I know who. I'm on that. I know who you're talking about, but let me see. It's actor David Dastmalchian.
Yes, I think he would be brilliant, just because he's already, like, he looks weird and Edwin's weird, and I think that would be like a match made in heaven. Like, him being a serial killer, he almost, you know, I mean, I hope he's not listening too closely to this, but he almost looks a lot like I think Edwin would look in real life.
So when you were watching Suicide Squad, you were thinking about him as a, hey.
Yep.
Okay, that's a good one. Just keep that in mind, or for any of your movies or any franchises that you will have. Okay, coming back to the Eye of to Beware of the Eye of Odin. How, I know that series, you know, are attached to sales and all that, but how long in the future do you have already this series planned? Do you already have maybe a couple of arcs already written, or?
Well, this was just going to be a 4-issue mini series, but they're all 40-page issues. So they're all double-sized issues.
Oh.
So it's basically 8 issues, but we crammed it into 4. And it's completely done. As a matter of fact, just this week, we finished up everything on it. So the book is ready to go. So that's, it's always awesome to be that far ahead.
But for example, this series, they are auto-conclusive after 4, but if they have enough success, maybe you already have like a second part plan, or maybe something happening in the same universe, maybe a spin-off or something. You don't have anything like that planned already?
We don't have anything planned like that yet. Like, this was Tim Odlin's first book. And so like, we're kind of letting him have fun enjoying, his first, because he's a huge Image fan. So the fact that we got it through Image was a big deal to him. So we'll worry about the next one after Tim gets done celebrating this one.
No, but I'm pretty sure that knowing the way you are, you already have something already typed on, or maybe written on your head. So I know.
Oh yeah, sure. There's plenty. I've always got fun things in there. We did so much fun stuff in here. We had so much fun with the characters, and there's still, as you know, with Norse mythology, there's so much to deal with. There's so many other directions we could go in, and this one we had dwarves and trolls and possibly a Valkyrie, and then we had these things called Hunderfolk, which are almost like little elves. There's so much left for us to play with in the Viking mythology and kind of do our own version of it, that yes, it would be so easy for us to do so many more of these.
Or, well, let's hope this is the beginning of a big universe. And talking about universe, we know this ambitious plan Image has, with becoming a big universe. Like I say, it's the 3rd house, even though they don't want to admit it. Right. That has a problem admitting they are a big house already, that they are like they are not independent anymore. They are the 3rd biggest house, but that's okay. Let's just go along with that. But now that they have this ambitious plan of a universe and maybe a multiverse and all that, have you been reached about maybe having your one or two of all of your characters, maybe being along with other characters in this kind of maybe multiverse event or whatever they have in mind or something?
Not yet. I think they're still trying to figure out how that even looks for them, because they've got like, what is it, the Radiant Black and Radiant Red and all those, and then obviously Spawn and everything else they've got going on. And I think they're still trying to figure it out for themselves. And so I haven't been reached out yet, but I also know that I deal with a very weird world. Where do you put Edwin and Virginia in the Image universe? So I don't know. I mean, obviously we could think of some fun ways to do something with that, but it's not as easy. Like, where do you put Saga? How do you fit Saga into this multiverse, right? And so I mean, I think it's when I think my books are, no, I'm not going to say they're as good as Brian K. Vaughan, because Brian K. Vaughan is amazing, but like Brian K. Vaughan has his universe, and I think my little universe that I'm creating is so weird that they don't fit easily into what Image is doing, or some of the other books do, and that makes perfect sense to me. Like, you want to start with the ones that logically fit first, I think.
Well, I think they will find a way. If they found a way to fuse Marvel Comics 616 Earth with Conan, I think they will find a way. I think you can do way better to find a way on that. Saga with plastic, or Spawn with paper girls. I don't know, something like that.
Oh yeah.
Let's just let them do their work. So, Doug, it's been as usual a very a big pleasure to have you over here. We will be looking forward and take a look to Beware of the Eye of Odin. Knowing the way you write, I know for sure this is going to be anything but a boring comic book.
Thank you.
I wish you for the best of success. It's okay for a comic book to wish for success, right? It's not like in the theater that you actually jinx the creator, right?
Oh no, I don't. Yeah, I'll take any wishes of goodwill that you have for anything I do.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with comic book lore. Like you cannot say this, you cannot wish for that. So they're not that superstitious, I guess.
No, we're not. We're just hoping it does well.
So thank you so much for this little chat, and looking forward, and well, whatever you know that where to find us.
Oh, yeah.
And if there is any other project, and also you can always let us know, and we, you know, for sure we're going to spread all over the world. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for having me on again, Luis. It's always a pleasure.
No, thank you for taking this, for accepting this interview. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.